All right, we're live. This is Attorney Vincent Davis, and this is The Secret, How to Fight CPS and Win. I'm joined this evening by my special guests, Miss Cassandra Woodard, Miss Georgette Truen, Miss G, and we have a special guest this evening, Miss Tay Edwards. Tay, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing good. What is your involvement with CPS?
Thank you for having me. My involvement started in 2020. I was physically assaulted in front of at that time, my child was 1 year old. It was terrible. I was physically assaulted, dragged out of a house. It was really bad. The police was called. That person went to jail, and I was in the hospital. And then that's how CPS got involved. While I was in the hospital, they got involved in questions were being asked. And while I was in the hospital, the person that assaulted me had a power of attorney made that they forged saying that I didn't want my child. And it wasn't true. So they took advantage of a situation.
In what city and state did this happen in?
It happened in Killeen, Texas. But I'm from Alabama. I'm not from Texas, so I didn't have any family there or a support system there. So when CPS got involved, that left me homeless because I lived with the individual, and it left me homeless. So I had to end up going to a homeless shelter for women because I didn't have a place to go, and I had to try to find another place to get my kid back.
Did you eventually get your child back?
So I'm still fighting. I was able to go to the shelter. I ended up getting an apartment. So the department, they required me to get a place to stay. I already had a job. I never had a criminal history, no drugs, nothing like that. So they only required me to get a stable place for the child. I did. It was shocking to them. I don't think they expected me to get a place and um, all of the things that they required me to do, but I did it um, because the individual that assaulted me was wanting to take my child because them and their wife couldn't have a kid, and that person was in the military. So they had a gang of brotherhood people behind them to help assist them with that.
So, how long has your case been open?
So it's been open since 2020, and today I actually got some good news. I ended up letting my court appointed attorney go. Um, and since I've been watching you, actually, you and Miss G, I've been taking notes. I've been studying the laws in the state of Texas. I've really been doing my research, learning my rights as a parent. I've been doing it all. And I started to notice that the caseworker was not reporting the truth. Like she just wasn't reporting the truth in court. And then I also noticed that the attorney that I had that was appointed, she wasn't reporting anything. Like I would sign release of information for her to get my hospital record, the police report of the assault, because they actually placed my child with the person that assaulted me. And I don't feel like it was no reason that my child should have been removed in the first place. Um, Never abused my child, nothing. Um, and that person went on to tell a lot of lies in court saying that I neglected my child, I didn't want him, but that wasn't true. They had that power of attorney that was forged. I mean, it was fake, it was forged. They had it notarized and everything, and I did not sign that for him to have rights to my kid. But so in the power of attorney, it stated that he could carry my child on his taxes. He could add him to his military benefits, and I didn't agree to none of that. I didn't sign it. I was in the hospital. I couldn't even. I wasn't able to sign it. The date that's on it, and so it's just been a battle trying to defend myself in court. And so after I got rid of the court appointed attorney, I defended myself because the court didn't have any record of my side of the story. They only had what the person that assaulted me said and the lies that the caseworker was saying. And my child has a father. His father works for Border Patrol. So none of us have any criminal history, any drug abuse. We're parents that's able to take care of our kid. We've always worked. It's no issue there. And so the person that assaulted me told the caseworker that, none one of us wanted our kid. And that was a lie. It wasn't true. But the caseworker believed every word that the person told them. And it was no factual evidence. It was just hearsay. But they wouldn't accept anything that I was trying to give to the court, like the police report, uh, the hospital record that I had. I had letters from my counselor. Um, I had letters from my boss because I had a job, and I was trying to go finish nursing school. So, I mean, I didn't have like a bad record or anything, and they wouldn't accept anything, not a character witness letter. They wouldn't accept nothing in court until I fired my public defender in court, and I defended myself. And I was in court for about 2 hours, and I told the judge everything, my side of the story of everything. And they granted me an appeal, and I just found out today that I won the appeal, and now I don't know what I'm supposed to do next.
When you say you won the appeal, what appeal did you win?
So I appealed my whole case because I didn't believe that my child should have been removed from me in the first place. So I appealed the whole case. I appealed the fact that the person that assaulted me, my child should have never been placed with him. Um, the child should have been, if they didn't want the child placed with me, he should have been placed with his father. And my child also has grandparents on both sides. The child shouldn't have went to the person that assaulted me. So I appealed the whole case. And the attorney that was doing the paperwork part of the case, they emailed me today and told me that I won my appeal.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Generally at the end of the appeal, the opinion that is issued by the Court of Appeals, um, it tells you or tells the trial court what to do. For example, it could say Tay wins and give her child back immediately. It could say Tay wins, but leave everything the same, and you got to have a new trial. It could say a lot of different things. So do you know what the court said?
Not yet. I asked the attorney to send me the letter of the decision of the court. I haven't gotten it yet, so I don't know the Tay wins as of what. But she did say, she said, you won the appeal. I don't understand. Is it okay if I pull it up and read it real fast?
No, go ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay. I want to make sure I quote it correctly.
What happened to Tay?
Okay. It says, we won the appeal.
Wait,
I'm not really sure.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Tay, you disappeared.
Oh, yeah. I was trying to read the email.
Okay, come back on.
Can you still hear me when I read it?
Yes, I can. We'd like to hear you and see you.
I can, but I don't know what else to do because when I go to read it, it kind of takes me off.
Oh, I see. Technical problem. All right. Go ahead and just read it, black yourself out, and just read it to us.
Okay. It says, we won that appeal. She said, I'm not really sure what the holdup is because the appeal is complete. It sounds like we're waiting on a new final hearing or agreement.
Okay, that doesn't make sense to me, but I wasn't privy to the other things in the case. But
Right.
Have you seen the decision from the Court of Appeal?
Not yet. I asked her to send it to me. I'm still waiting on it.
Okay. You might be able to go online and pull up the decision. If you were in California and you had an appellate case, all you would need is the Court of Appeal number, and you can look it up online. I can't imagine that Texas doesn't have that.
Okay. I'll try to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
So here we have, earlier this week we met a woman on the show. She was a guest that where her parental rights were terminated for 5 years, she got her parental rights reinstated and got her children back. Now we're meeting someone, a guest, you, who has won an appeal. The trial court made the decision and you appealed it, and the Court of Appeals agreed with you. Now I'm just interested in what the Court of Appeals said. You know, how did you win? Because there's multiple ways or things that could be said about of you winning your appeal. Like I said, they could say give her back her child immediately, or they could say keep the child in foster care and have a new trial, or anything in between. So that's great.
Okay.
That's great. Are you still representing yourself in the trial court?
Okay. Okay. And then I also wanted to tell you that so so after I represented myself, the court granted me another caseworker as well. Now I already know that you cannot trust a caseworker. So that's true, you guys. Do not trust a caseworker. Don't be talking to them because they're not on your side. So, but the new caseworker, so I talked to her today, and she said she wants to have my child returned home to me. That's what she wants to do. I know you can't go off of hearsay, but the only thing that really matters in each case is documentation. Because a caseworker will tell you anything, and they'll get in court. Because I've seen it. The first caseworker that I had, she would tell me, "Oh, we're gonna do like a monitor return," or she would just lie to me to my face. But then when we get in court, she'll have all these concerns. She'll say things like, "Mom, I cannot think of the word. It's when you are unpredictable." She used that word in her paper. I can't think of it right now. But she would get in court and say something like that, like, "Oh, mom is unpredictable. I'm not sure if returning the child would be safe for the child."
Generally, if social workers say something like, I don't know if the mom is safe, when you look at the law, that means they don't have any evidence to determine that you're unsafe. And when you're talking about burdens of proof, they have the burden of proof of proving that, you're a danger or a risk to your child. But if she says, I don't know, that means you win.
And that's what she said.
But that's one of the things you have to argue at the time of trial, and your attorney would have to argue. But I want people to understand that. If the social worker says she doesn't know, that means she doesn't have any evidence, and the child should be returned to you. Because it's not a standard where if she doesn't know, the child isn't returned. She has to know, based upon facts and evidence, that you can't take the child because you're a risk or a danger to the child.
Right.
Okay?
And there were none.
Right.
Absolutely none.
And that's probably why you won your appeal. Because they didn't have any evidence. All they just said, oh, we don't get a good feeling about Tay. Well, guess what? If they say that, you get your child back, or you're at least
Oh,
supposed to.
and I did have another child. I have a 5-month-old daughter. So
Is
I
that child with you?
yes, I have my child.
See, it's one of those crazy cases. You have one child with you, but they won't give you the other one. You
That
know,
didn't make sense to me.
right? Just common sense to me, and this is just my opinion. If you're a danger to one child, you're a danger to all of them. So they better not leave you with any children. But they don't have a case. Maybe they're concerned that you might sue them one day for
And,
violating your civil rights.
and I told them that, and that's what it is. And I believe that's why they are prolonging my case because they think I'm gonna forget about it. I haven't said nothing since when I said it, and they think that I'm not gonna do it. That I'm gonna be so happy to get my kid back. But that was another question I wanted to ask you tonight: was how do you sue civilly for um, violating rights?
Tay, that's like asking me, how do you conduct open heart surgery? That's kind of a trick question. How can I explain that to you? Right? It's difficult. It would take me hours. If I tell you, you're not going to know how to do it. So let me tell you, you have to do some research. You have to marshal the facts. You have to draft a complaint. You have to allege violation of your civil rights under Section 42 USC 1983. You have to make sure that your complaint is what they call demur proof, or is not susceptible to a motion to dismiss right at the beginning of the case. And I can go on and on, but
Mm-hmm.
I might as well tell you, go change the transmission in my car.
Right, because I don't know how to do that.
Right, right, right. So that's how you do it, Tay. Now, you want the real answer on how you do a civil rights case? I'm going to tell you the secret, and nobody wants to believe this, but here it is. The best way to sue a social worker is to go out and find an attorney who's qualified and experienced in doing that. Because if you try to do it yourself, you're in a world of hurt. I don't know if it must have been last week. I had a woman on the show. She used to be a host of some of my shows, and now she has her own show. And she's in the process of writing her own civil rights complaint. And she admittedly said that she was in over her head. She's told me privately she spent hours and hours and hours trying to do this, and she had like 1.5 pages. A good civil rights complaint against a social worker is sometimes 35 to 50 pages. She's got 1.5.
She's got a long way to go.
Right, and didn't know where to go after that. And that evening that she was on the show, she told everyone in the audience, look, just go get a lawyer. Don't try to do it yourself. Yeah, okay? Doing a legal case by yourself has no reflection on you as a person, your intelligence, your stamina, your character. It's just that you don't know how to do it. Like, I tell this example all the time. Mechanic told me, hey, Mr. Davis, you need a new transmission. Guess what I didn't do? I didn't run down to Pep Boys and buy the Chilton on my model car. The book. It tells you how to fix cars. I didn't do that. I didn't go to Pep Boys and I didn't buy all the tools I needed. I didn't do that. I didn't go to Pep Boys and I'll buy all the supplies I needed. The grease, the oil, the lubing stuff. I didn't do that. I didn't buy the jacks to jack up my car so I could get under it to get to my transmission. I didn't do that. You know why? Because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't. Yeah. And I'm a fairly smart guy. I just don't know anything about changing transmissions.
Yeah.
But I always scratch my head when people say, oh, I'm going to do my own lawsuit. Now, has anyone who has done their own lawsuit ever won?
Yeah. I don't believe so.
No, they have.
They have?
Yeah, like one in 1,000.
Oh, that's a...
Now, and one of the most important things in your life, are you going to bet 1 out of 1,000?
No.
Why? Because
I want to win. I want
to. And you have one shot at winning.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you going to try to do it yourself?
Mm-mm.
Right. I mean, everybody, it's America. Everybody believes they can do this. More power to them. But when you lose, don't come and say, oh, the court was corrupt. I lost my civil rights case. That wasn't it at all. What the truth is that you didn't know what the hell you were doing.
You were doing, correct.
I've told this story before, and, Cassandra, you may have heard it. Georgette, you may have heard it. Many years ago, a guy came to me on a Saturday morning. I used to work every Saturday, and he came to the office on a Saturday morning, and he didn't have an appointment. And he says to me, oh, I want you to get me custody of my kid. And I said, oh, well, we have to go to court. He says, oh, I already been to court. I go, what do you mean? He says, I was in court yesterday, Friday, and I lost. And the judge gave me 1 hour of visit on a Saturday, monitored. I said, so you want me to take you from 1 hour visit monitored to having the child in your custody in the next 4 to 6 weeks? He said, yeah, that's what I want you to do. I said, well, I might as well change, water into wine because it can't be done. I said, Johnny Cochran, if he were alive, couldn't do it for you. He says, well, what do I have to do? I said, well, you got to come up with a plan. And I gave him 12 to 18 months to implement it. At month 10, he had custody of the child.
Mm.
Okay. Now, here's what he told me. He said when he went to court, he just knew the judge was going to agree with him and give him custody. I said, why did you think that? He says, well, it's obvious. He says, I had these documents right here that proves the mother is negligent. I said, what are those documents? He said, they're medical records and they're records from the school. And he said, you know what? I was so pissed off because the judge wouldn't consider them. I said, well, do you know why the judge didn't consider them? He said, no. He says, is it just corruption? I said, no. I said, you didn't know the rules of evidence.
Right.
You didn't know how to introduce your school records and your medical records into evidence so that the judge could or would consider your evidence. You didn't know that. Well, Mr. Davis, these are the medical records. These are the school records. I said, I believe you. I said, but there's something in California, as there is in every state. There's something called the evidence code.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? You got to comply with it. Why? It's just the rule. In baseball, if you get 3 strikes, you're out. How come it's not 4? How come it's not 2?
It's the rules.
It's just the rule. It's a rule that somebody arbitrarily made up for some reason that we don't know. Well, if they got that rule in baseball, guess what? They got rules in court. And you can imagine they're much more thorough and complex. The California Evidence Code with rice-thin papers is about this thick. Okay? Now, the cases that explain the Evidence Code go on for volumes. And if you don't know those rules, when you get into the courtroom, you're going to be out-lawyered. You're going to be out-lawyered. An old employee, someone that used to work for me, called me yesterday, and she was at court representing herself. And what happened was she sued someone in small claims court, and she won about $10,000. The problem was the person that lost filed an appeal. Now, in small claims courts in California, you can't have a lawyer. It's just you against the other person head up. Judge made a decision in her favor for $10,000. The other side appealed it. What my ex-employee didn't know was that when you appeal a small claims court, you can have a lawyer. So guess what? The other lady showed up with a lawyer. My ex-employee, she didn't have a lawyer. And she was scared that she was going to lose. So she called me up. What should I do? Now imagine I'm trying to tell her what to do, and she's standing out in the hallway in court about to go in. And I said, well, what evidence do you have? She said, well, I have all the paperwork that I took to court the first time. And I thought, oh my God, paperwork with no proper foundation, it's hearsay. It's not admissible. Sure enough, she goes in and does the case by herself. And then the attorney for the other lady objects to the documents. Hearsay, judge. Now, There could have been a way that it would have been non-hearsay, but my ex-employee didn't know that. She had never gone to law school. She calls me up afterwards crying. She said, Mr. Davis, I lost. I said, why didn't you call me before you went to court? And you know what she told me? She said, oh, my brother said that since I won the first time, I don't need a lawyer.
Mm.
Now, it wasn't, she's an ex-employee. I know her family very well. I mean, I wouldn't have charged her. But can you imagine that her brother would tell her, hey, you don't need a lawyer because you won the first time?
And she listened.
And she said, oh, okay. Now she lost. And here's the bad part about it. She can't even win the appeal because her evidence is not admissible. So the court can't even say, oh, she made a mistake and we should give her another chance. That's not how courts and rules of law work. So let's transmit that into a CPS case over probably the most important thing you'll ever have a case about, your children.
Hmm.
You think you need to know the rules of evidence?
Absolutely.
You think you need to know the rules of procedure? You think you need to know the case law in these areas? You think you need to know what the code says? I had a discussion earlier this week with someone who wanted me to help them walk them through doing a hearing on their own. And I said, well, you've read the code section, right? What's that, Mr. Davis? I said, well, have you read in the law what you have to prove and what they have to prove? No. Well, how do you expect you're going to win this? I'm right. God knows that I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm a God-fearing man myself,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not how it works. God and the Holy Spirit aren't going to come down and influence the judge when you obviously are not following the rules and you don't know the law. Right? So there we are. So if you're going to represent yourself, you better know what the law says. You better know how to prove what you want to prove, how to disprove what the social worker says.
Well, I did it that one time in court, but I really don't want to do it again.
Well, you did it in court. Here's the funny thing. You did it in court and you lost. But the case was so bad against you, you won on appeal. You
Mm-hmm.
don't, I'm going to tell you and everybody else out there watching this. You don't want to be in the appeal business. It's a low probability of success. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't say impossible. I said a low probability of success. Right? So let's try to win these cases at the trial court level, not rely on appellate stuff.
Right.
I know Georgette and I have discussed this particular issue, and it's different for every case. But if you don't have an attorney, that you can afford to hire, you might be better off with the court-appointed attorney than no attorney. And to some people out there, that's blasphemy, right? But let me tell you something. I've done thousands of these cases. And overall, you're probably better with an attorney than without an attorney.
Right, because I don't know how to do all the paperwork.
Paperwork, you don't know the rules of evidence.
I don't know the rules. You're right.
You don't know the rules of procedure.
Yeah.
You don't know the case law in this area of law in your state. So just knowing that, are you better off with a lawyer than without a lawyer? I've seen a lot of people trying to represent themselves. They just go down in flames. And I'm sitting there watching this and I just shake my head. A lot of parents get upset and rightfully so. But they let their emotions control their logical decisions. Don't let your emotions take over. I'm pissed off. I'm pissed off the social worker. I'm pissed off at the judge. That doesn't mean that you're going to win.
Right.
Focus on what you got to do, and that's winning.
Right.
And I talked to someone today, and they said, well, this is what happened to me. And I said, okay, I'll listen to the story. I said, what do you want me to do? I don't know. You don't know what you want me to do? No, I haven't figured that out. What am I supposed to do? Because I'm not supposed to tell you what you want. You tell me what you want, and then I figure out how to do it.
Right.
And it was one of those cases where, the person may or may not have wanted this particular teenager back in their house. We just assume people want their kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's not true. I remember I had a friend. He was a mentor. He's deceased now. His name was Michael D. Randall. Smart as a whip, went to Bolt Hall Law School up at Berkeley, and he was a CPS juvenile dependency lawyer. And he was a very good one. He trained me. He and I once did a trial together. I think I represented the grandmother and he represented the mother, and we were at a hearing. They used to call it a PPH hearing, permanency planning hearing. And this was the last time that the mother could get the kids back or the grandmother could get the kids back. And of course, he and I assumed that they wanted their kids back, like 3 or 4 kids. And we had this long trial over a couple days. And he and I were just kicking butt. We're kicking butt because we had really prepared for this case. At the end of the case, the grandmother's sitting on the stand, and the judge is like, okay, it looks like I'm gonna have to rule in the family's favor, return these kids. And he asked a question to the grandmother. It was kind of a throwaway question. And the grandmother's response was, well, Your Honor, to tell you the truth, me and my daughter, we really don't want these kids back.
Mm.
And I was sitting there thinking, how could this possibly be? And then the judge says, well, did you tell Mr. Davis that? And she said, no, we didn't tell Mr. Davis or Mr. Randall. And he said, why? And you know what she said? She said, I was too embarrassed to tell them we really didn't want these kids back.
Mm.
Wow.
You see, me and Mr. Randall, we just thought that everybody wanted their kids back. Clients have their own agendas. I tell this to Georgette all the time. People have their own agendas in these cases. And that doesn't mean that it matches what you think their agenda is,
Mm-hmm.
or what it should be according to your own moral standards. So that's why I always ask people, hey, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, right.
And a lot of people are like, well, what do you think I want you to do? I want you to get my goddamn kids back. Okay, great.
Yeah.
But what they don't know, what I know, is that sometimes people don't want their kids back. They just want their name cleared.
Yeah.
Right? Or they want to put on a show to make it look like they want their kids back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have to say that the majority of people that call us up, they want the kids back. All right? But it's not something that I can automatically assume because of my own personal experience. When that grandmother said what she said on the stand, I remember it vividly. That probably happened 20 years ago.
Mm.
Maybe 25 years ago, because I've been an attorney over 35 years. Did I ever dream that someone wouldn't want their kids back? No, of course not. because I was looking at the case from my eyes, not from their eyes. And you know what? Me and Mr. Randall, we never asked them what they wanted. We just assumed. Now, is that the only case I've ever had in my career where people didn't want their kids back? No. Believe it or not, no. There are crazy situations that happen in life and happen in families' lives that you may not even imagine, wouldn't even dream of. So everyone has their own agenda. Everyone. The social worker, the judge, the clerk, the bailiff, the mother, the fathers, the children, the children's attorney, the attorney for the social worker, the social worker. You know, I can go on and on. There's a lot of people involved in these cases.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. Minimum 6 or 7 people. Minimum. So everyone doesn't want the same thing. You know, a couple called me the other day and they wanted me to represent both of them. And I said, I can't represent both of you. I can only represent one of you. Right? So keep that in mind. Going back, let me circle back to the rules. You got to know the rules. And I'm interested, and maybe you can email it to me, or you know, let me review. Hold on, forgot to turn my phone on. Let me review what that opinion says,
Okay.
because I might be able to tell you some good questions to ask your lawyer, or tell you, hey, Tay, you got to go talk to a lawyer. Okay, I mean, if you want your child back,
Okay.
right? And even though you won the appeal, guess what? Your child's not back at home right now.
Right.
So, you know, have you won anything? As of right now, no.
No.
Now, will you win something in the future? Maybe. Right? Maybe. Well, who knows? Sometimes the social workers get upset and they appeal when you win. Then what happens?
I didn't know that.
Right, right. There's a lot of things you haven't considered. So you won, and they could say, well, you know what? FT, we're going to appeal ourselves. We're going to take it even to a higher appellate court. And we're going to try to win. Have I ever seen that happen? Yeah. Seen that happen. You know, social worker wins at trial, loses on the first level appeal, and they're like, we're going to appeal it higher. Then where are you? Another 6 to 9 months in the case without your kid? These legal battles go on and on and on. Cassandra, did you have any questions you want to ask based upon this conversation between me and Tay? Knock, knock.
Every time, right? Every time. Yeah.
Cassandra has an issue with the
really...
mute button. No, you don't? Okay.
All
right. Okay, so let me go to the person that I know has questions. Mrs. G. Miss G.
Miss G.
Miss G. Are you talking to me, Mr. Davis?
You're Miss G, right?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Who are you all the other times?
I'll tell you later, Cassandra.
Okay.
My secret. What advice would you give the audience or the ones watching when people keep saying that the CPS worker violated or the social workers violated their amendment rights? What's your advice to them when they keep focus on the violation of rights rather than,
the actual case? Well, that's the first thing, is to stay focused on your actual case. The second thing is don't let your emotions, especially when you're in court, don't show aggression or that you're upset or that any kind of emotion. Stick to your case, stick to your facts, stay focused on your case. Don't deter from that. Don't talk to social workers. They will use anything that you say or show them against you. They will go to your house and watch and look to see who's coming in and out of your house. They'll watch your social media. I would suggest don't post. The whole time I've been on my case, my Facebook has been deactivated. I don't talk to nobody just talking about my case. I stay focused. I watch you all's videos. That's how I first started to learn. I started watching first. I found Mr. Davis, then I found your videos, Ms. G, and then I just started studying my state.
Because that sounds like something I said on my videos. Exactly what you just
Yes, yes. I'm telling you because I watched so many videos that it stuck in my head, and I really had to train myself. Okay, I cannot show emotions. I'm in court. They even watch how you're sitting there, how you're dressed. They critique everything about you. When they say something, they look for your reaction. They really watch you. So I would just suggest stay focused. When you're in court, be on time. Keep your hands clean. And what I mean by that is do not give them a reason. Do not give them a reason to come after you. If you already have a case, work, do what you're supposed to do whatever it is they're asking you to do. If they ask you to do something, do it immediately. Like if they ask you to get a psych evaluation, don't wait. Go ahead and do it. Like do what you need to do. Do not fail drug tests. Like that's the number one thing. Don't get in any trouble with the police because I'm telling you, if you get in any trouble with the police, they're just gonna deem you as unfit.
Good girl.
Is Grace with us this evening, our producer, Grace? Grace, after this show, I want you to contact Tay about being a guest and perhaps a host from some of our social media shows. It is evident to me that she has tried to educate herself and she has thought a lot about this process.
Right.
A lot.
She actually listened. She actually listened.
I talked to a lot. I talked to a lot of people, and their parents, and they're being torn apart by this, and it's hard for them to focus.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame them, but it's just hard. You lost the most prized possession in your life, and now you're supposed to operate logically. That's hard. It's hard to do.
It is hard, but you can do it. You can do it. You have to keep focused, and you cannot sit there and just think about the loss of your kid. You have to just educate yourself. If you ever find yourself in one of these predicaments, just educate yourself and know your law, know your rights. That's the most important thing is knowing your rights.
Tay, you've been
I'm telling you, I've been watching y'all videos a lot. I'm telling you, I've been dealing with this for months.
To myself, I'm like, what was that? I just heard that. What?
For someone posted
I'm telling
something.
you.
I want to tell you that the videos that Tay is referring to is we have a YouTube channel called CPS Defense Strategist, Vince Davis.
Mm-hmm.
You will see there these videos as well as other videos that are taken from the radio show that I do. All right. So, and a lot of the on the radio show stuff, somebody calls in from across the country or California or whatever and asks me a question. And I give a response. And that's what a lot of the videos are.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have videos that are, basically recordings of these live streams that we do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not the only one that does them. Ms. G has her own show. Cassandra used to have her own show, but now she does a show with me.
I still have my show.
Oh, okay, good, great. Cassandra has her own show. we've had a lot of hosts in the past, and I was just telling Miss G this. One of the first hosts that I ever had, contacted me recently. I don't know. She may be coming back, so we'll see. But anyway, so there's a lot of people that have their own shows. This is my goal, and this is a crazy goal, but I want to have these shows going 24/7, 365. And the reason is because, you may not be in the mood to listen to me right now at 7:46 Pacific time or 10:46 Eastern time. But you might wake up tonight at 3 o'clock in the morning. You might wake up tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning. I want to make it so at any time you can tap into a program, get some advice, learn some things about your CPS case. You
Mhm.
know, many, many years ago, you guys are probably all too young to remember this, but many, many, many years ago, there was no such thing as CNN News, 24/7, 365 news. No such thing. News was, 6 o'clock to 6:30 or 7 o'clock one time a night. And then CNN took it to a whole nother level. They're going to do news 24 hours a day. And it was such a success because, people, they work different hours, they sleep different hours, and they can always turn on the TV and watch the news. Right? Same with Fox, same as MSNBC, whatever your flavor is.
Mhm.
But I want to have that for CPS. You can wake up anytime and you can watch one of these shows and you can call in and ask your question, or you can post your question on the social media platform and we can give you an answer. Okay? So, Tay, I want you to think about that.
Okay.
Alrighty, folks, we've come to the end of the show, and I want to tell everyone thank you for watching. I want to thank Miss G. I want to thank Miss Cassandra for being on, and Miss Tay Edwards. I want to thank you very much for being a guest, and think
Thank
about sharing your experience and knowledge with other people in the future. We'll be on again tomorrow night at 7 p.m. So we'll see everyone then. And Miss G, I wanted to ask you this. For weekend shows on Saturday and Sunday, I was thinking about doing them in the mornings, not at 7 p.m. in the evening. People are out, going out, doing things at 7 p.m. on a Saturday or Sunday. But I was thinking about doing the shows like early in the morning. I don't know if you know this, but when I first started doing my radio show, it was 8 o'clock a.m. on Saturday mornings. And the theory was, you can listen to the radio show early in the morning just from bed, but you'd have the rest of the day free. So think about what time you guys would like to do the show on Saturday mornings. But tomorrow, Friday, we'll be doing it at 7 p.m. So I will see everyone tomorrow. Thank you for watching and have a good evening.
you.